there are a lot of schools of thought around what early music actually is. How would you define it?
I've been thinking about that a lot. And actually, it's something that I come back to all the time. And I've had a really hard time thinking of how I would define it. My husband and I were talking about this, and he articulated it in a really nice way.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of brought together our thoughts and articulated it well. He said that he thought of early music as, or the way that we play it right now, it's music that we have that sort of lost its continuity of performance. So at some point it stopped being performed,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the music that we are now bringing back. There was a gap in the performance, and now we're bringing it back. So it's excluding the music that has this continuity of performance,
Mm-hmm.
um, music that's been performed since its original conception.
Right.
That would be excluded from the definition of early music. Um, I think that's one way of thinking of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but what's really interesting, and what he and I were talking about, was that that's sort of originally how early music was would have been defined, in my opinion. Um, but now we have several decades of early music, the early music revival, basically.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
so now we not only have all of these sources and can read about it and try to figure out how it would have been played and look at iconography and recreate these instruments that are as close as possible to the originals. So we not only have that, but we also have this history in the modern era of early music performance and performance practice and historically informed performance, all of these terms.
Right,
Um,
right.
so we have this interesting tradition in our own time that we're strongly influenced by. Obviously, we imitate our teachers and other performers that we respect. Um, so it's just interesting to me to think about that and how the definition of early music has changed a lot, probably since the early music revival, the original early music revival.
Right.
Um, and then also just thinking about what is it today. Um, I guess what I associate early music with is a Western tradition,
Mm-hmm.
um, from Europe, um, mainly from before the mid 18th century.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I associate it with. But at the same time, when I think about it, I don't know why it couldn't include traditions from other parts of the world.
Yes.
So in some ways, I almost think that we actually just need to change the terminology and be a little bit more specific. So instead of saying I play early music, maybe I would say I play Renaissance and Baroque music from Europe.
Yeah. Or world music.
Yeah. Although, I mean, I've been thinking about that term too, world music, that encompasses so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also we sometimes have associations with the term world music to mean anything which is not Western music.
Uh-huh. Right.
Um, so I've been thinking about that too, and wondering if maybe we should also try to be more specific instead of using the term world music, maybe
Mm-hmm.
saying this is Chinese music from a certain time period.
Right.
So I don't know. It's interesting to think about the terminology that we use and the world that we're living in today,
Yes.
and also what terms someone might use who lives in the Middle East, for example. What
Mm-hmm.
would they call uh, Baroque music from Europe? Would they
Right.
call it early music? Would you know?
Interesting. Yeah. Be interesting to dive into that to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I that wasn't a very clear answer about what I think early music is, but I think it's a very complicated term now. Now that I've really thought about it,
Yeah.
and I think it's
It's kind of
probably
a loaded
changing.
question. I mean, because I think it's something that early music Seattle is really in the process of redefining.
Sure.
And, and it's been kind of an exciting journey and evolution that we've been going through, and we're definitely in the midst of it right now.
Yeah.
So what we've been talking about is some of the things we are definitely bringing into our programs, and it's exciting because I think
Yeah.
it's sort of the next evolution for early music, maybe.
Yeah. I
So
think you're right. Well, and I also, something that I think is really interesting about that too is to see how when an organization starts to kind of rethink what early music means or what some
mhm,
term means.
mhm.
And to notice often there's a lot of pushback from some people.
Oh yeah.
And I can tell in myself thinking, but early music is Western European, Baroque and Renaissance and medieval, because that's just how we've defined early music. And so it's interesting to see in myself, why do I think that? And then sort of challenging myself to think about whether that's actually true. Should it really encompass that, or should we be looking at other types of music, especially because clearly there are links between
Yeah.
other music from other parts of the world at that time.